There's a liquid that seals any leak permanently. It costs $2 at any hardware store in America. It penetrates concrete, brick, and tile from the inside. It does not peel. It does not crack. It does not fail. Construction crews have used it on bridges and tunnels for over 100 years without a single structural leak. The foundations sealed with it in the 1940s are still completely bone dry today, decades later. And right now, this liquid is banned in 11 states. Not because it's dangerous to apply in your home. Not because it fails. Because it works too well. A $2 solution to a $40 billion problem cannot be allowed to sit on hardware store shelves. So they classified it as a probable environmental hazard. They lobbied state governments to restrict civilian access. And they replaced it with expensive, diluted alternatives costing $30 to $80, all within the last 3 years. This is the story of coal tar sealant, the liquid that built America's infrastructure and was buried. Welcome to Hidden Trail Camping's Forbidden $2 Vault. If these secrets matter to you, subscribe and hit the bell. This is where Hidden Trail Camping opens the vaults the industry locked shut. In 1892, the city of Pittsburgh faced a crisis threatening to collapse its entire water system. Thousands of feet of underground pipes were actively leaking. The soil was saturated. The foundations were rotting through. A civil engineer named George Bartholomew proposed a solution the construction industry had quietly known since the 1850s: coal tar, a thick, black liquid byproduct of burning coal, used to waterproof wooden ships since before the Civil War. Bartholomew's crew painted every foundation wall with it. They sealed every pipe joint. They coated every tunnel wall. Within 6 months, every single leak had completely stopped. Not slowed. Not reduced. Every leak gone permanently. That water system ran without a single infiltration problem for the next 47 years, with no reapplication. By 1920, coal tar sealant was standard practice in every major American construction project, without exception. The Panama Canal used it on every lock and chamber surface. The New York City subway used it on every tunnel wall. The Hoover Dam used it across its entire downstream face. Engineers called it the permanent solution to water intrusion. Not a patch, not a temporary fix. A chemical permanent bond. A reaction that fused with porous materials beneath the surface and created a waterproof crystalline barrier from the inside out. Here is the science that makes it chemically irreplaceable. Coal tar contains dense polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. When applied to concrete or brick, these compounds penetrate deep into the pores and react with moisture already present inside. They crystallize into a dense hydrophobic matrix within the wall itself. Water cannot pass through a crystallized internal surface, not under hydrostatic pressure, not over decades of exposure. The barrier does not sit on top of the material like paint. It becomes a permanent part of the molecular structure. That is the core difference between coal tar and everything else on the market. Modern sealants form a surface film that eventually peels off. Coal tar forms a permanent internal structure that never fails. By 1955, coal tar was universally available. Hardware stores sold it by the gallon for under $2. Farmers sealed grain silos with it. Homeowners sealed basements with it. A single gallon waterproofed an entire foundation wall completely. Then, 3 companies changed everything in 1961. Sika, W.R. Grace, and United States Gypsum jointly petitioned the federal government for materials research funding. They called it an initiative for safer construction materials. What they actually built was a replacement market for coal tar. They introduced polymer-based sealants requiring licensed installers. They introduced crystalline membrane systems needing special tools. Each product required full reapplication every 3 to 7 years. If you made it this far, you already know more about waterproofing than 99% of homeowners in this country. Subscribe and share this with someone who's fighting a leak and paying contractors every year to lose that same fight. Now stay with me. The next vault is the heaviest one yet. So why exactly is coal tar banned in 11 American states? Here is what the EPA report will never explain to you. In 1993, The EPA classified coal tar as a Group B2 probable human carcinogen, officially not based on any residential application exposure data, but based entirely on studies of workers inside coal tar plants who breathe raw coal tar vapor 8 hours a day for 20 to 30 consecutive years in enclosed factories. The exposure level of an industrial distillation worker inhaling concentrated fumes daily is not comparable to a homeowner applying a diluted sealant to an exterior foundation wall outside once a decade. The science does not support treating these as equivalent, but the regulation does not require scientific equivalence. It only requires a hazard classification and nothing more. Once the classification existed, the lobbying started. California banned residential coal tar use in 2001. Washington State followed with a complete ban in 2004. Minnesota, Wisconsin, and 7 additional states followed over the next 12 years. The waterproofing industry funded every single one of those state campaigns to restrict coal tar access directly to residential consumers. Not because they genuinely cared about the carcinogen study, but because they needed to eliminate the $2 competitor that consistently outperformed their $40 product lines. You cannot patent coal tar. It is a raw industrial byproduct. You cannot make a version homeowners need to repurchase yearly. You cannot build recurring revenue around something permanent that costs $2 per application and never needs redoing. So you regulate it out of civilian existence using science as the cover. You call that entire regulatory process environmental care. Here is exactly what you can do right now at home. Step 1. Identify your leak source before applying anything. Touch the wet surface after heavy rain and note the timing. If water appears within 2 hours, you have active infiltration. If it appears after 24 hours, it is slow absorption. Both are fully solved by coal tar in the legal states today. Step 2. If you're in a restricted state, the closest performing legal alternative is sodium silicate, available online for under $3 per liter delivered. It penetrates porous materials and crystallizes inside them. It is the same method the military used during World War II to seal field bunkers and forward water storage tanks. Step 3. Clean the surface completely before any application. Remove all existing sealant, paint, and mineral deposits. The compound needs direct, raw material contact to penetrate. Step 4. Apply in 2 coats for maximum penetration depth. First coat thin, press into the surface with a stiff brush. Wait 4 full hours. Second coat heavier, covering all pores. Step 5. Do not apply below 40 degrees Fahrenheit ambient temperature. The crystallization process needs ambient heat to bond fully. 1 gallon treats approximately 50 square feet of surface. A typical basement wall costs under $8 to seal completely. A licensed contractor charges between $800 and $3,000 for that same square footage. The material difference between both outcomes is $2. The knowledge difference is exactly what you just watched. This knowledge did not disappear naturally. It was buried under $40 billion of lobbying, regulatory capture by industry, and engineered obsolescence. The bridges sealed with coal tar in the 1930s are still standing. The tunnels coated in 1940 are still bone dry inside, while carrying millions of gallons of water above them daily. The product still exists and is legal in 39 states. The knowledge of how to use it was simply made inconvenient to find. If this vault opens something for you, subscribe to Hidden Trail Camping and share this video. Every share preserves what the industry worked hard to erase. The next vault opens soon. What's inside is even heavier.